This afternoon I've mostly been learning how to TIG weld, and it's pretty fun. I like it. I've never touched a TIG welder in my life until this afternoon. Thankfully Thomas is a bit of a genius on it, and he also happens to be a pretty good teacher, so I picked up the basics pretty fast. Faster than he expected, but it's mostly down to him, I think. That's not saying I'm like good or anything yet, but I could weld some pipes together. This is just practicing, so I was practicing doing around the edges and so on. Same as here, look, just making lines and shit. And yeah, joining pipes together and all this crap. TIG welding's weird. It's, I don't know how to explain it. It's like MIG welding is easier, but it's harder to be nice looking and pretty and precise. It's like MIG welding, you can just practically fucking close your eyes and pull the trigger, and as long as you've not ballsed up settings and stuff too much, you'll make an ugly but perfectly strong weld. TIG is like super precise. It's like wow, surgery kind of thing. It's like tiny little movements, and like watching super carefully, and you can see the puddle and all that. But while that makes it more tricky in many ways, it makes it way better in other ways, because like you can get things exactly right to make super pretty, you know, neat looking welds. And you can even things like you can control, because you can control where the welds go in super accurately, hence why, without knowing what I was even doing, I managed to weld Stav onto there fairly easily. It's also good for when, for example, you fuck up and you leave like a big lump somewhere like that. With the TIG, you could go back to that and remelt it and smooth it out. You ain't doing that with a MIG. With a MIG, you would just be adding more shit. But with a TIG, you know, with a MIG, you'd have to grind that down. With a TIG, you can sort of, say if it was next to a bit you was welding, you could use that as the filler material and literally carry on the weld with your extra bit. These two here are ones where I'd absolutely ballsed up, because one thing I need to practice a lot more on is filling gaps. You know, where two pipes don't exactly join. That's a bit of a tricky one with a MIG sometimes, but it's maybe more tricky with a TIG. Or maybe it's just kind of need more practice, but it can be done. I mean, these are all, I've done it on all of these, because what these were ones where, because that's actually, I'll tell you another thing that's different with a MIG to a TIG. If you're like spot welding things together, it seems to me a TIG will pull more. So if you've got like a spot weld there and a spot weld the other side, if, say for example, which is a mistake I made on pretty much all of these, the one on the other side wasn't actually, you know, holding right, the weld on this side will pull the metal, so it'll end up with a big fucking gap there, and then you have to learn how to fill it, which is what I had to do here. I mean, almost none of this, I don't know if there's any, yeah, see that thin bit there, that was probably about the only bit that was touching. The rest of it, the 355 other bits around, was me trying to teach myself how to relatively neatly fill the holes, which is quite tricky, but yeah, it can be done. And I want to practice more on that, because that's always going to come up when making exhaust. much the same on this one. I mean, like, you can see like some bits like there, fucking perfect, and then just round the corner where it had a massive hole because I'd fucked it up, it's now like a large amount of weld where I was working out how to fill holes. You can see like the wild difference between different bits where things went right and it was lovely, and then things went wrong and it's like much wider because it's literally filling holes. So yeah, but at the same time, as not that pretty as that looks, it's fucking strong. The thing I don't really like about having to fill holes if I can help it, or gaps, is you'll inevitably have some of that metal going in, so the pipe internally isn't as smooth as you'd like it, which is not brilliant, you know, for flow. Granted, it's not like the end of the world, but you obviously want to keep the pipe as pipe shaped as possible. To be honest, that's another thing I don't really like about pie cuts and stuff. It's like, because, you know, that's not just about like me still learning, it's just about how it is. Even on a good weld, unless you haven't really got much penetration, especially on something thin like this, the inside isn't going to be dead smooth, so you kind of want to try and avoid it really. But either way, I'm very happy with the progress. Thomas expected to take, you know, days to get to a level where I could, you know, do fairly tidy stuff. But it's honestly, it's down to him being a bloody good teacher, the way I see it. You know, but I've still got a lot to learn. But I've obviously been doing this without Thomas even being here. I've sort of, he's gone home and I've just carried on trying to teach myself, because, you know, I understand the basics, so now you kind of trying to learn around that and work things out. Because it's, you know what's one of the trickiest things actually, you can't let the tungsten, the bit inside there, the pointy bit, you really don't want that touching the metal or the filler rod. But you want it as close as fucking possible, because that's what melts everything. And that's a trick, and it's tricky. It's like you're keeping it close, but the minute you touch it against anything, it all goes to shit. And if you're lucky, you can carry on, but do that more than a couple of times and you'll need to take the tungsten back out and sharpen it back to a point again. Because if it's not pointy, it just makes a real messy fucking mess. I mean, some of this messier bits with the hole filling isn't just because the hole needed filling. That was me being like, oh bollocks to it, I'm going to carry on. It's, you know, it needs resharpening, but I kept touching things or touching the filler rod so soon, it's like, I can't be fucking bothered, I'm going to battle through it. And which is the wrong thing to do, but nothing, it's like cars, isn't it, with seat time. You know, nothing you can do as long as you're doing it is a bad thing. It's all experience. So it's like, I knew it weren't the best idea, but I wanted to learn the good and the bad from it. And, you know, it is a good thing, because I learned to, you know, make things better even when the tungsten's not sharp anymore. Do you know what I mean? As in, earlier when I was trying it with a blunt ass tungsten, it was fucking terrible, and then later with a blunt ass tungsten, it was just terrible but not fucking terrible. You know what I mean? So it's but either way, now I reckon I would be able to fairly well TIG up my exhaust system, as in that, because obviously it's MIG'd spot welded, but I've done it in such a way there's no big gaps, so as long as I don't fuck up and blow a hole in it, which, to be honest, in all this practice, and blowing a hole in things with TIGs is meant to be one of the easiest things to do. there's only a couple of times I've blown a hole. Most of the gaps I've been filling is because of my absolute fuck up trying to tack things in place. I certainly need more practice tacking things without making a fucking mess. I don't know why a couple of times I did it perfect. Some other times I made a fucking mess, and I'm still not 100% sure why. But again, that's something I've got, like a few questions to ask Thomas tomorrow when he's back in from my experiences of doing this, to see, you know, what things I'm not sure about I can explain to him. I guarantee there'll be a trick to it. But yeah, all in all, pretty good. The thing I really want to learn, because this is the one thing I can't do with a MIG, is aluminium. But that's meant to be a whole different ball game. So you know, the fact that I can, you know, do stupid shit like write my name and all this kind of crap and weld pipes together, that doesn't mean I can weld aluminium. And all I really want to do with aluminium, wow, no, tell a lie, I'd love to be able to do aluminium like Thomas, but even tack welding aluminium would be like super fucking useful, so I can, you know, tack things in the correct place and then let Thomas fucking finish the job properly. But you know, the way it is, I think he'll teach me to do it fully, because I've picked this up quite fast, it seems. So hopefully I'm not too shit on the aluminium and I can pick that up relatively quick. You know, I'm not really into like making things super pretty. I'm not fucking looking for Instagram bloody likes and, you know, weld porn and all that. But it is nice to be able to do a tidy job. And more to the point, it's like I want to do a strong, reliable job. And while I can do that with you know, steel like this with a MIG, I can't with aluminium. So that is where it really counts. I honestly at this stage wouldn't care if my aluminium welding looked like fucking dog shit, as long as it was solid, you know what I mean? But aluminium welding's trickier, so we will cross that bridge when we come to it. But honestly, like me and Thomas was talking about it before he started to teach me, and he's like, oh, this will make, you know, some funny video footage. And wow, good and bad, turns out I was actually all right at it, so there wasn't really any funny footage. So, you know, that's bad for footage, because it would have been, you know, seeing somebody having a nightmare making a mess with a welder is funny, but turns out I was all right, so it wasn't funny. But it is good news for me from a progress point of view. If you're wondering, my welder I'm using is not an expensive or fancy one. It's a raw WSME 250. It's bloody powerful. It pretends to be it pretends to be German, but you know, fucking umlaut and all sorts. But now it's blatantly Chinese. I don't give a shit. I don't believe this is made in Germany. Don't know. But yeah, ROHR with the umlaut, but I don't think it's German. It's just pretend German to make it look better. But either way, it was cheap and it's fucking good. I mean, even Thomas like, yeah, it's decent. You know what I mean? It's like there's no, and it's clearly powerful. It's rated to like 250. Where are we? Yeah, 250 amp peak current. But at the moment, just doing normal thickness stainless steel, we're talking, wow, let me see, so 30, 60, 90, 120, 250, 220, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, it's about 20, that's probably only about 25, 30 amps according to the gauge scale. I haven't looked at that, but like Thomas said, his welding like is much more even at that level. But look how much more you could turn it up if you needed to. I could probably fucking weld bloody, well, melt girders with that motherfucker. But either way, it's good. Still need to learn how to use it properly. Cause like at the moment, like I think that's pulse, and I think that's good for welding something. But we haven't even turned that on. It's just like, you know, we still need to play with the settings a bit more. But first things first, just learning the basics. But at least this shows you don't need like a £1,000 plus TIG welder to do perfectly good work. This is a few £100, I think. I think the 160, which is the lower one of this, most people say is perfectly adequate, and I think that is like £170 or something. So yeah. So yeah, there you go. That is that, and it's pretty good. Apart from that, just doing stuff, things, waiting for parts to arrive, including the fucking loom I ordered long ago. It still hasn't arrived, and many other things. So yeah, that's my update for this video, and I will see you next time.